After an intense dogfight over Korea in 1952, now retired Navy Captain E. Royce Williams was given clear orders by his chain of command.
Now don't tell anybody. So on the big hush, I didn't for 50-some years.
The following story was classified as top secret, and for more than 50 years, Williams didn't tell a soul. Nobody knew what he did that day over the skies of Korea. Until now. Williams was stationed on board the USS Oriskany off the coast of Korea, flying air-to-ground missions against North Korean targets. On the morning of November 18, 1952, he was ordered to bomb targets far in the north, near the border with the Soviet Union.
And I was assigned to target, and at dawn, I was a part of a large strike. And we were pretty successful, and there was a minor amount of anti-aircraft, and we were used to more than we saw that day. But on the other side of the river was the Soviet Union. And they weren't expecting us, and in their surprise, they went to general quarters. They launched a lot of airplanes. There was a lot of radio chatter.
By this time, the weather had taken a turn, with a blizzard rolling in with heavy winds.
Our Combat Information Center controlling us was notifying us that there were inbound bogies. We spotted 7 contrails coming out of the north, and as they got closer, identified them as MiGs. And as they passed over me, they reversed course and headed back from where they came.
Williams watched the Soviet aircraft as they turned away and broke into 2 groups, 4 going to the right and 3 going to the left. Williams quickly lost sight of the MiGs and was ordered to move closer to the ship and task force to protect it in case they decided to attack.
So it was in that turn that those that turned to the right, a flight of 4, came in at my 10 o'clock, and they're all shooting. And I wrapped the airplane around hard, a lot of muscle, and dropped right in on their number 4 guy. And since they started the fight, I shot, and short burst, and the guy started dropping out, and then he started smoking. And my wingman at that point followed him on down, and I never saw him again. So I'm now I'm alone with 6.
After downing one of the 7 MiGs, the others pulled up to regroup and then immediately dropped back in to attack Williams.
So they were positioning to shoot at me, and I turned, and the lead aircraft was firing. Now, I thought it was out of range. I held for a moment, and then I fired a burst, and it turned away and stopped firing. And his wingman is now coming dead on at me, and I reversed, put my sight on him, and fired. And we're both shooting, and then he quit. And he just kept coming, and he went right underneath me, and I'm still firing, but he's not. I assume bad things happened to him.
Williams successfully downed another of the original group of 4 MiGs, leaving 2 still targeting him.
So this whole thing lasted about 35 minutes, and there was somebody shooting at me almost all the time. And so I'm on the defensive. I'm not really declaring war on them. I'm trying to keep in the fight. And one guy made a bad mistake. He went by me instead of pulling up as he should have. He pulled off flat, and I was able to turn around and in close, and I fired, and he was damaged badly right off the bat, pieces coming off, and I had to maneuver sharply to avoid hitting him. I eventually got hit by a 37 millimeter. That is an anti-aircraft sized weapon, and it hit me right in the fuselage and went right into the accessory section of the engine and exploded. And this just put holes everywhere, and I'm suddenly without any hydraulics, and everything went south.
Despite a now severely damaged aircraft, Williams was still able to fight back against the remaining MiGs, now targeting the last 2.
I ran out of ammunition, and this guy is starting to drop. But now I'm mighty aware, and I kicked my airplane around, and the guy had quite an angle off me, not right on my tail. And he's the guy that hit me. So he settled in right behind me, ideal range of 300 or 400 feet, and just pumped away. I was luckily pointed toward the storm back there, the blizzard that I left, and below that our task force. So I was headed in the right direction, and I just jammed the stick forward, and I pulled back like this and this, and I'd see all the bullets just going over me, under me, and over me, and all the way into the clouds down at 12,000 feet. I made it.
Even after escaping the machine gun fire, his troubles were not over yet. His plane, badly damaged, was performing poorly.
And I'm considering ejecting, but I'm a long way from any help.
Still far from the strike group and in the freezing cold, he knows that ejecting or crash landing would mean certain death. He has no choice but to push on and attempt a dangerous landing on the carrier flight deck.
Right after takeoff and knowing that we had enemy aircraft around, of course, all the ships went to general quarters. They're ready to fight. And they're guns free, meaning that if you have an unidentified, no one's saying it's friendly, you're cleared to shoot. Well, nobody had told the people at the guns that I was a friendly, so coming into this task force, they opened up on me. My commanding officer had just taken off to be our relief, and he was still under the clouds, and he saw it, and he called him, he said he's a friendly, so boom, they stopped.
Williams was able to make a safe yet unorthodox landing on the flight deck. The next day, his plane captain does an inspection of his F-9F Panther. He finds 263 holes in the aircraft.
You'd be surprised, it was almost like a training mission. I was not hep. I didn't get hopped up or anything. I may have, but as far as what I felt in the way of concern, my judgment and my maneuvering was pretty stable.
Soon after, Williams' admiral ordered him into a meeting with an intelligence official with the now National Security Agency. The meeting was short. Williams was told he had downed 4 Russian MiGs and then given specific instructions.
And he started by saying, "Now what I'm about to tell you, you're not going to be able to tell anybody ever." So it was a long time later. Forgotten about. A lot of people never knew anything about it at all.
Although he was ordered to never tell anyone about the mission, one person knew all the details and wanted to talk to him about it. That person was President Dwight D. Eisenhower.
So he came directly over to me and took me by the arm and led me over toward the bar where his son John was bartender and said, "Well, before we get down to business, we ought to have a drink, don't you think?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he says, "Well, we have bourbon and scotch, water and soda. What do you have?" I said, "A bourbon and water, please." He said, "We have awfully good scotch." I said, "Well, sir, I'd prefer bourbon and water." "Lieutenant, we've got the world's greatest scotch. And Mr. President, I drink bourbon and water." These generals are going wild over here. It's not-nosed kid. Anyway, he said, "Oh, John, give him a bourbon and water."
Williams went on to fly over 220 missions, mainly in Korea and Vietnam. He served for over 30 years and retired in 1980 at the rank of captain. More than 50 years later, his story was finally declassified. The first person Williams told was his wife.